Welcome back, guys, to episode 3 of Card Talk Canada. I'm Adrian Garcia, joined again by the wonderful, the awesome Coleman Bennett. What's up, Coleman?
Not too much. How's it going, everyone? Hope everyone had a great weekend, and I know we certainly did. We had the guys up in Ottawa for the weekend, the Capital City Trade Show on Sunday, and let's say there was quite a bit of deals that went on for both of us, both buying and selling, and also for juice slabs in general. But I know we've got a busy show that we're gonna kind of dive deeper into some different things, whether it's talking about dealers attending card shows, kind of your first time, or also if you're a buyer, kind of attending card show and kind of different mistakes and things that we've learned along the way. I know Adrian, we've both made many mistakes in the hobby for sure, but also that comes along with it.
Yeah, we'll give everyone a bit of a card show survival guide, um, and we'll go through our typical hobby headlines and a little quick recap on the Ottawa show this weekend. It was a nice road trip for the boys. We made the 4-hour trip to come to your stomping grounds out there at the Capital City Trade Show. And honestly, it was a great time. It was very refreshing to see new people, new vendors, and meet a lot of people. And we definitely did a lot of good deals. Geidzeg, who hasn't been on the show yet, he'll be on in a future episode. He was probably the first star of the weekend, I'd say, bringing his Ottawa Senators PC out for sale, and I was really proud of him that he was able to say goodbye to some really big PC pieces that he's been holding on to for a while.
It was great to have you guys down, and it was crazy to see that he was actually willing to let go of some of those pieces. But it was crazy; so many people were interested in them. As soon as the show started, I said there's going to be people that are interested in them for sure. No kidding. Soon enough, there was multiple people.
Yeah, and for you, this was a bit of a busier show. You officially signed on and partnered with Slab Sharks as one of their submissions, right? And
Yeah,
so I
no,
think I think there was a few guys who came through with you there.
yeah, there was definitely. It was our first weekend, the Saturday at the TCG Pokemon show. We were started taking submissions in for Slab Sharks, and yeah, it was great. There was lots of people who were interested and kind of didn't know much about Slab Sharks, and they were really liking the different opportunity it gave them to kind of sell them with their cards. And we got about 9 or 12 submissions throughout the show on Saturday, and probably about 5 or 6 on Sunday for the sports show. But it was great. And speaking of Slab Sharks, we had the guy who sold the exquisite one of one stop by our booth and chat with us a bit after the historic sale for him on Slab Sharks. But he was a really nice guy, and he was super happy with the sale and everything that Slab Sharks did for him. He had lots of heat, lots of good cards on him too.
Yeah, you love to see like one of the major players in the hobby always get such a good customer service rep that Slab Sharks does. The way that they take care of their clients. Um, but do you mind sharing that story about how he pulled that ultimate shield?
Yeah, yeah. So he actually he told us this story of so I won't kind of I'll leave out most details to make sure he kind of stays anonymous, but um, he was late at night after I believe it was after work, and he's mainly a TCG guy, and so he was looking to open up something, and he went to his local store, which was closest to him, and they were closed. Sadly, they closed a little early, so he decided to go to another one across the river, about 15-20 minute drive, and he went in there and he was talking to them. He's like, "Oh, what's a good product to buy or whatever?" And he bought a couple boxes of Ultimate, and believe it or not, Bedard one of one Ultimate Shield was in there, and it was yeah, crazy.
That's such an epic story to be like your local guy was closed, so you try your luck at another store, and all of a sudden it's there for you. Like that feeling would be crazy. It's just another one of those where it's like it's just meant to be. Like them
Exactly.
being
Yeah,
closed early that night.
as he said, it was literally a life changing card for him. Literally, he said that he couldn't have been happier. And yeah, now who knows what it's going to go into? There's going to be maybe some more sports, maybe some more boxes, maybe some TCG, but We're super happy that we were able to meet him and have those conversations and kind of get to go over his experiences with the card and everything that went with pulling it and getting it to auction. And yeah, it was really, really interesting to be able to meet him and have that conversation with him.
Yeah, and that was a massive sale which happened on eBay in an auction. And that leads me to our next piece of hobby headline news is eBay has started testing two let me read the official wording by eBay here on their how bidding works page, but they've stated we are currently testing extending auction durations by 2 minutes when a bid is placed in the last 2 minutes of an auction. This test will apply to select items in the trading cards category. Please make sure you're on the latest version of the app to see this feature. That to me is a massive change coming to eBay. If these tests roll out well and this gets applied to almost, I would assume, one day all cards, that will be a big change for the market, I think, across the board.
For sure, it is a big change. And I think that it definitely has its pros and its cons when you look at it as buyers and also as sellers. As buyers, I feel like right now, during certain opportunities, of course, the off season and maybe when a player's injured or so on, you have these snippets of opportunity where the market's down and you're able to snipe a card for a really good price. And I feel like with the new extended bidding, it will limit those opportunities just because it's giving people extra opportunity to push that card up. So every time there's that bid that outbid someone, it goes up another 2 minutes. So think about all those times where you're in a last second eBay auction and you place your final bid and it's $5 higher than the next person's or whatever, or it's just higher, but it still is. Think about every time you place a bid, 2 minutes have to go by and someone else can place another bid and add more time. I think this is going to be a great thing for sellers. I think the comps are going to be higher. I think there's going to be more um, higher sales for these higher end cards and also for mid tier, lower end cards as well. Because I think if there are two people wanting it, it's just the matter of how much they're going to pay. And I don't know how you're going to feel, Adrian. Are you going to be more inclined to be bidding on these auctions now, or would this be something that draws you back?
Personally, for me, it would probably draw me back a bit more from bidding on eBay specifically because I usually buy on eBay when I'm looking to snipe and I snipe something at the last minute. And I think one of the big changes that we'll see with auctions once this gets rolled out is people will start, instead of putting their max bid in the last 5-10 seconds, people are going to put their max bid in as soon as they spot the card, and it's just going to come down to who's willing to pay more. People will start buying more aggressively, I think, on eBay. So I think we will see a big spike in the market when this does get fully rolled out. Um, but then again, like right now, the hobby's on a roll. It was the most sales for sports cards last month ever, and we're trending in the right direction. And I think this would really help the market. But I think it could change the whole dynamic of how cards are moved, whether it be on eBay, auction houses, or in person at shows.
Well, exactly. But I also think another good thing as a buyer, let's say, is how many times has there been a card maybe you're looking for on your PC or something, and you're bidding on it on eBay, and it gets to that final 5, 6 seconds you place a bid, and the other guy beats you out by $10, $15, and you're like, I would have paid 100 or however much more money than that to buy the card. So I guess in that sense, this gives the opportunity that if you're willing to pay more and if you really want that card, then it's going to be yours. Let's say tonight there was two Austin Matthews signed Young Guns. One was an exclusive and a 7.5 and an auto 10, and there was an inscribed version of the base Young Gun on 8 auto 8 as well. And both of those I was super interested in for my Leafs PC. And if they were the extended bidding options, I'm sure that I would have had a better chance of winning it than just by a straight shot. The guy beat me by $10 on both of them. So in that scheme of things, I'm excited because I feel like there are some cards that are going to be more easily obtainable. But I also feel like on the other side, where you're trying to get a card for cheaper and then sell it later on, I feel like that part of it's going to get more difficult.
Yeah, I think it definitely would be an improvement on like the quality of life. Where if you are having slow internet, so you're slower to bid at the last 10 seconds, 5 seconds, or if you get timed out, banned, logged out, like this will help keep people from having those issues. And so it's definitely good on for the customer service front of it, of making sure people get to buy cards that they want to buy and not losing out by that 10, 20, $50. That wraps up our hobby headline segment. The biggest thing we've got happening next for both of us is we'll both be at the Canadian Sports Card Show, happening in Mississauga, also known as the CSC Show. I'm excited for that one. How about you?
Yeah, no, I think it's always a great show. CSC always puts on a great event, and it's gonna be the off season, so we know that sports are going to be a little more selective. But again, it's a great time to be buying, and I think that's going to be the main goal: sports, and hopefully trade some stuff for sports. I know we're bringing some Pokemon stuff, and that's going to be hot, especially in the off season. And right now, Pokemon's been super popular, but I think there's big opportunities maybe to buy some Leaf, sell some Leaf stuff because Leaf stuff's always popular at CSC shows. And I don't know, what about you? Are you picking up anything or planning on picking up anything as of now?
I'm this CSC show is going to be a bit different for me. I'm bringing in a lot of big inventory. I don't have a lot of inventory, but I've got a lot of big inventory. So it's the first time I've really done that for a CSC show. I usually tend to bring in smaller stuff for some of these shows, but I'm looking to really be buying strong and showing off some of the big cards that I have available for people to trade or buy into as well. So it's I definitely think CSC is up there in terms of card shows to attend in the GTA. I think this will be our main segment for the show. We'll talk about the card show survival guide. And to start, we'll talk about it as a vendor because you've been setting up at these shows for quite a while. Juice has joined you in the last few. Let's dive into some tips for people setting up at their first show, and then we'll talk about it as people walking or attending their first show.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things that I want to dive into and kind of some things that I really focus on when I'm attending card shows that I wish I did kind of starting out as someone who is setting up. And I think one of the first things is really preparing a plan and kind of a setup plan and everything. Even if you have one table or half a table, whatever it may be, I always like to go into shows with a setup in mind and have a setup that maximizes both utility and also while maximizing the visual appeal of your showcases and cards and making sure each card is being able to be seen by each way. And I think another great thing is get to card shows early. Get there as early as possible. Set up. Get your inventory in the eyes of dealers as well. They also may be buying. They might be looking to pick up specific things. And I think that's a great time for you to walk around, meet other dealers, make connections. That's one of the best things about card shows is meeting people face to face and making connections throughout different parts of Canada, the US, wherever it may be. Because there's people who are in the hobby throughout the whole world, and you never know when you're going to meet a fellow hobbyist or what you're going to need them for. So I think that's a great time. I think one of the best things is having an inventory that's curated to what people are looking for and what people are going to be kind of on their list. What we'll talk about when you're going as a buyer of having a list and having look for specific cars that you're looking to pick up. And I think curating kind of as we do, Adrian, as we try and do, is we try and focus on stuff that we know will move in the area where we're going to be. Like you said, a lot of your high end stuff for CSC is going to be high end Leaf stuff, and that will be the stuff that moves. And we saw at the Montreal Expo how popular Montreal Canadiens are, and that's something that I think a lot of people they have their inventory and they might be traveling to a show, but they don't curate it to specifically what the needs of the show are. And I don't know if you feel that way, Adrian, and you do the same, or you're more like, I feel like this is going to do well here, or if you're just like, I'll bring inventory everywhere.
Yeah, I definitely think you have to curate your inventory if you want to move product at a show. Like we said off the top with Geidzeg, this was his best show in quite a while, and that's because most of the cards that he likes buying is stuff that he likes, which is Ottawa Senator stuff. So of course, when we go to a show in Ottawa, we knew going into it, Geidzeg was going to be the main player for us. And he was going to have the most action because of the cards that he was bringing in. I brought in a lot of Leaf stuff, and obviously some people said, "Oh, those are nice cards," but there weren't really many Leafs buyers in the Ottawa land. So that's definitely a big thing, is making sure that you put out the cards and display the cards that people want to see when they're there. Obviously, you can always travel with all of your inventory, but the way you position the cards that should be people should be looking for at that show is definitely very, very important. And one thing I want to do is like shout out you, because you said to be there early, and that's one of my favorite parts about setting up with you, is that you're always one of the first people there. You love setting up early, getting the lay of the land, making sure that you're organized, and then we always come afterwards, and it's so easy for us, knowing what we're doing, setting up, because you've already laid down the land, and then we get set up together, and like you said, being organized and having everything you need laid out correctly, because sometimes it's happened at past CSC shows. It's happened at the expos where there's so many people at the booth at one time asking questions that you need to know where all your cards are. Someone's looking for this card. Someone needs a penny sleeve, a team bag, a top loader, scissors, a pen, marker. You know, knowing where all your supplies are and all your cards are helps you save time in those really busy moments at shows. And that's like really can help you close a deal when you can be professional and quick and efficient for your customers.
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of speaking off of that. Another thing is being prepared for kind of the whole day, and that's something that maybe we don't think about as much. But another thing is like bringing food, bringing water, making sure you have cash to do change, and always have enough. If you're doing dollar boxes and that, have change, physical change, to be able to give people. That's something that you always want more than it sucks running out, because you need to be running around trying to find a way to replace that. Another thing is tracking inventory and tracking sales and that, and how people do that. There's many different methods. Maybe I'll talk about the method I used to use and what I use now, and then I know I'll get Adrian to talk about the way he uses if it's different. But the way I used to use was just a simple Excel spreadsheet, and I would track it kind of like that, profit loss and all the information through there, and you could set it up automated. Now I use a full inventory management system called Mascot, which is specifically for sports card inventory. It's a great system to be able to keep track of all the costs and everything. And as well, it helps me post to eBay, Instagram, Shopify, to my website, to my card post, all the different apps that they're connected to. And it is a subscription, but I find it is a super useful subscription. Because that's one of the things that card shows is you want, as a dealer, you want to know what you're into the card for, and you want to know what you want to sell it for. And by having a list or something, you're easily able to negotiate with people. You're easily able to make those deals instead of having to scratch your head and think about it, or maybe sell a card and end up in the long run losing money because you remember, oh, I paid this much actually. I don't know about you, Adrian. Do you use one of those methods, or are you kind of a hybrid or in between? Another great thing I actually do is I like to take pictures of all my deals. So if I'm doing a deal or something, I like to throw it on the showcase after it's done, and I like to take a quick picture. Not that I'm probably ever going to look at that picture again, to be honest, but if I need to, and if I go back after a long day and I'm tracking stuff in my system, and I'm like, oh, what was that deal? At least then I can go back and take a look at it and break it down from there and get a pretty good idea of what I paid, or either what I sold it for if I can't remember.
Yeah, that's my key, is I take pictures of all my deals. That's the easiest way for me to keep track, because there's so many all the times, just laying out either the cash or the trade and making sure you know which one's going in, which one's going out. Um, I'm still on the spreadsheet game, tracking my cost, profit loss, profit gained, and full inventory, tracking serial numbers for keeping track of theft and insurance purposes in case anything goes missing. Um, and that's the easiest for me. But I think the simplest and most effective, I think, for both buyers and sellers is that take pictures, because shows can be overwhelming. There's always so many numbers that it's easiest to update and do your fact checking when you get home by going through your pictures and seeing the deals that you got done.
Well, another thing I've
Another,
actually
you go.
seen people do is kind of piggyback on that is by implementing pictures into their Excel workbook. And they have little sections of this deal was this, and that's a lot of work, but I wouldn't do that. But some people do, and it's a great way to track it.
Another tip for vending at your first show is being approachable. So your posture, the way you're set up, the way you're standing, relaxing, and interacting with your customer makes a huge difference. Obviously, the longer someone's at your table, the more likely they are to spend money. And one thing that I found game changing for me at the expo is long and I would sit quite a bit, but when I'm sitting, I'm not approachable. And I found that when I was standing on my feet looking to make conversation with people was when I had better interactions. Even if they didn't lead to a sale, it was just much better energy around the booth that attracted more people to come in. And so that's where I think being approachable, being on your feet with a smile, having, sometimes you got to have a few lines in the bag of that small talk that you make, what are you looking for? Can I help you find anything? My favorite line is, have you done any damage yet today? Have you spent any money? Seeing where people's heads at it, and being that friendly face and helping them along too. Like if they're looking for something and you don't have it at your booth, but you know someone or you've seen it on the floor, letting people know that it's out there, um, and that even pointing them in the right direction, because at the end of the day, we're all in this hobby together and just trying to help each other. I don't. You have any tips for being more approachable behind the table?
I just think one of the things is introduce yourself to everyone. Give your business card to everyone. Get your name out there. Get your company's name out there, and just always be available and open. Always, just if they need anything at all, make sure you reach out to me. Here's my name. Here's my number. My company. Let me know if I can ever help you. And it might not lead to anything right then or there, but and you never know. It probably won't lead to anything at all, but maybe they'll keep that card and they have a collection they want to sell, or they're looking for a specific card. They're going to go on your website or they're going to reach out to you. And I think just always keep every single door open at all times. Be nice to everyone, be respectful to everyone. And I think if you're able to do that, you'll be able to grow and keep going. But I think definitely we've both been on the opposite side and being buyers and walking around and kind of seeing what's out there. And there's many different tips and tricks that you can do and different strategies to have when you're attacking a show as a buyer. You can set a goal, set some goals of whether that may be what your buying list is or what your goals for are you trying to complete a set? Are you trying to buy stuff for value and investment to go up? Or are you trying to buy stuff to flip? There's a whole bunch of different things. And Adrian, I'll get you to talk about those first, and then we can kind of dive deeper into that and what you're looking for specifically as a buyer, and maybe different strategies that you follow or that other people follow who buy day to day.
Yeah, so I think first I'll start with one tip that is like kind of in the middle for both buyers and vendors, and that is um, looking at people's sticker prices as a buyer. Walking the floor is very important for knowing, for me, if I'm going to be able to get a deal done. If their sticker prices are reasonable, I know that there's more likely a chance that I'm going to be able to get a good deal and have a smoother interaction, versus seeing someone whose stickers are a little high, or there's the odd vendor who's stickered at 150% of the last comp, and those are the guys that sometimes it's hard to negotiate with, because either they're in it for too much or they just really think that they're going to get what they're asking on it from somebody. So as a vendor, you want to make sure that you're putting in your comps the night before, making sure that you're staying up to date because the market does change. And as a buyer, you want to find those tables that have the cards reasonably priced. They're most likely going to be able to help you find the car that you're looking for at a reasonable price, and they're most likely to be the easiest to deal with. And that would probably lead into um, don't spend your money on your first round around the show or in that first aisle. Make sure that you look around the whole show to see if there's multiples of the card you're looking for in the show. See which one's the cheapest, um, and that will make sure that you are spending your money wisely and to the best of your abilities.
I'll throw a little asterisk beside that. I would say yes for 95%, 99% of the time that's the case. There are those cards though that, especially at the bigger card shows, at the expos, at the nationals, Dallas card shows, where you go, some of the cards where it's going to sell quickly and it's going to go, and those are ghost cards, the ones that you don't see often. And when you do see them, you need to hop on them if you want it, and hop on it fast and be willing to pay strong because they don't come up often. And when they do, they go higher and higher. And that's there's many of those cards. It's like I've been looking for a Kale McCarr endless of endorsements, and it's just I should have paid more when I had the opportunity. Now I regret it, and I'll be searching for it for however long until I find it now. But again, there's it's tough sometimes. And
I think you're spot on. I think you clarifying better for me is I think my comment works more towards the young gun market where there's so many of these cards, they're easy to find. But when you're looking for one of those serial numbered, harder to find cards, you definitely have to um, be slow and meticulous when you're scanning all the showcases when you're looking for a specific card. Don't be scared to ask for it, but also being ready to act on it the first time you see it. I remember at the expo, there's a few cards I was looking for, and I walked on through on the Thursday in my first lap, and I was like, like I'll come back around. By the time I came back around, all these cards were gone. I knew they were reasonably priced at the time that I first saw them, and I didn't act on it.
exactly, and you probably didn't see them again the rest of the show. Or if you did, it wasn't at the same price as before. And that's another thing.
Exactly.
But again, the young guns and the ones that are more common in that, walk the show and see what's out there and see who's accepting trades, see who's looking for just cash. Will someone take PayPal or e-transfer? Um, what are the stipulations? But I think another thing is bring supplies. As a buyer as well, I like to bring supplies. Bring some top loaders, some extra sleeves. Because as a dealer, I see this, the amount of people who walk up, and yes, we have them, and we'll gladly give you a couple, but tons of people are always looking for top loaders and penny sleeves. And they don't bring that. If they buy a raw card or something, or they're digging through the value box and they find an unsleeved one, they're always looking to put it in protection. So always make sure to bring a couple supplies, and again, cash, because cash is always king with dealers. And most of the time, that should be able to get you a better offer. Another big thing is I know there's so many different platforms and there's so many different ways to do it. Again, we'll both talk about our ways of comping stuff out, looking stuff, but make sure you have an idea of comps. And again, comps aren't something to live by and die by. But again, they are a general guideline for what a card should be worth around. And again, the lower serial numbers you get, comps are harder to find. They're harder to utilize. But for those common like young guns and that, it's very easily. And my personal favorites are I like market movers, card ladder, and 130 point. Adrian, I know you like card ladder and 130 point eBay. Is there anything else that you use, or is there any other um, that you use? Do you use Alt? I know some people use Alt to look at stuff. And
Yeah, I before I used to not have Card Lab, pay for the Card Ladder subscription, and I found that I was just, not being able to see enough. Paying for the membership to be able to see older history has really changed the game for me to be able to be more accurate when I'm pricing cards, especially as I've moved up into a bit more of the niche lower serial numbered cards that don't sell quite often. Um, those have been very helpful for me. But before I had Card Ladder, I was using Alt for anything slabbed. So Alt, you can scan the card, put in the serial number, and you can see all the history sales all the way back, and it's free. So that's probably your best bet. I was using that over 130 Point and eBay for slabbed cards, just due to seeing the date range go back. The one thing to note for now, Alt is currently only in USD, so be prepared to do the conversions yourself on those sales there. Another tip for people is the difference between arriving early, looking for those cards that might not make it to the end of a show, and then staying to the end of the show to try and get deals from dealers. So sometimes at the end of shows, dealers who may have had a slow show or don't want to bring back some inventory, they may be more flexible on their prices or looking to do more deals at the end of a show than they are at the beginning. At the beginning of a show, dealers kind of hold out, saying, I want to see what I can get. It's early in the show, so sometimes they're not as flexible. But at the end of the show, sometimes you can go up to a dealer and snag some pretty good deals from guys that are looking to bring home some more cash.
Especially if they're traveling long distances and they don't want to lug all that stuff back, or maybe they physically can't. They bought too much and they have to figure out another way. It might be cheaper for them to just um, leave it and not leave it, but sell it there and give a good discount on it. And I think another thing is digging into that is arriving early and digging through the dollar boxes, digging through at the 25 cent, the 50 cent, dollar, $5, $10. You will never know what you'll find in the dollar boxes. And I've seen people at the Toronto Expo who are digging through and they find this year alone at the latest one. One of my good friends, he was digging through the dollar boxes and he found a Macklin Celebrini O-Pee-Chee Retro Black out of 99 for a dollar. It's about a $600 card at the time it was. So it pretty good, and you never know. And that's the way to get started. Start off with $1. That's a $2, $3 card. Flip that into that. Buy $3 cards. Flip those into, and that's how you can get the ball rolling. If you don't have the funds immediately to go right into higher end mid tier cards, start at the dollar bins. I love picking through dollar bins, finding cards so that you can flip on eBay for 5, 10, $15 with minimum investment into it. And I think that's a great opportunity for people to get in and to start um, kind of flipping and to start buying stuff to sell it by going through doing the work in a dollar.
Yeah, that's the best way to start. Like finding those gems in the rough is one of my favorite things. I have a few buddies who do that religiously, and I love when they come by the booth and they're letting me know, like, look what I just found. You won't believe what I paid on it. I'll look at comps and I'll be like, I'll throw them a number and they'll tell me like a percent of that. Like they got it for margins. Like it was like crazy. Some of the finds you can make out of dollar bins. And sometimes too, when you find someone who has dollar bins full of treasure, don't be scared to ask to see if they have more cards, see if they have more bins behind the table, because sometimes guys have too many bins and not enough table space that they have bins under the table or behind the booth that they just don't have room to put out. So don't be afraid to ask for things. Ask for to see more cards, and also ask just if you're looking for a card. If you're looking for a specific card, don't be scared to ask people for it. The worst they can say is I don't have it, and that's it. It's just as
I
simple as
always
that.
do. I
Yeah.
I always have boxes underneath the table that I can't fit or stuff that I can't fit in the showcase. So make sure you always ask. If you guys ever come by and you want to see the extra boxes, make sure you ask any of us and we can pull them all up.
At most shows, you can submit your cards for grading. There's usually someone at most shows, whether it's with KSA, BGS, PSA, that's willing to take submissions. They act as a third party in between you and the grader, and they simplify the process for you. You can drop your cards off with them and get your cards submitted. So know what cards you want to submit ahead of time and be prepared to hand them off. Coleman, you take submissions, right?
Yeah, we're lucky enough to be able to take PSA, Beckett, Mint, KSA, CGC, SGC, grading for everyone. If you come by our booth at any of the shows, we'll always have our grading form, and all we'll need you to do is fill that out for us, drop off your cards. We'll take them all, we'll get them all scanned in, we'll get them wiped, prepped, everything ready to go to PSA, get the grades back, we'll invoice you, and then we'll deliver your cards right to you. So it kind of streamlines the process. It takes everything out of control of you and puts it onto us, and we'll take care of everything for you. All you have to worry about is getting back tens, and that is it. But yeah, it's a great thing. Many people use it. And Adrian, do you grade often, or what do you what's your opinion on getting? Do you wait for the bigger shows like the expo and that to do it on site?
I tend to do about one grading submission a year, usually leading up to one of the expos that I can have more stock at. And then occasionally for the bigger cards, I'll wait till the expo and do on-site grading. But I think using a third party to do the grading has been the easiest thing for me because it takes out the tariffs, any shipping, customs, anything like that out of the way, where you guys handle all that for us. So it's so helpful for me doing it that way.
Well, I know we're going to talk about here, kind of being as buyers, what are some of our wins and kind of losses, and kind of pick one or the other and talk about that. I'll go first, and I want to talk about quickly about this year, the last Toronto Expo. We were at trade night here, and it had been a very long day. I'd gone to Toronto Expo about 8 a.m., woken up about 6, and had a long day. We were at trade night. Adrian and I walked in. We were like, okay, we're going to go scour the floor and see what's out there. I walk up to a table. I see they have some young guns in that, and I go and I offer what I think is a very fair deal on a PSA 9 Lane Hudson Young Gun, $200. The guy accepts it immediately. He's very happy about it. Stuck it in my pocket. Go on with my night. Later the next morning, I'm trying to sticker it, get it ready for the day. I realize it's a PSA 8 and it has a little crease in it. So that's one for me. But Adrian, I don't know if you have any wins or losses like that you want to talk about.
Yeah, my win is also a loss. At one of the expos as well, I spotted a Grail card of mine, and Nathan McKinnon Future Watch Auto Patch, and I was so excited to see it. And I asked the gentleman if he was open to offers, and so I threw him what I thought was a pretty good offer based off the comps. I was honestly willing to pay full comp on the card at the time because it's a card I'd been really looking for, and he accepted right away. But he said, quickly take it out. Make sure you're happy with the card before we shake on it. And me, just like the fact that he took my offer, I was so excited. I'm getting a Grail. Quickly skimmed over the card. I thought it looked great, and I closed the deal, bought the card, and later on, when I'm going to look at the card, I find out that the card has a major surface issue on it, and I was devastated that this card had it was like a fingernail dent in it, and I just was heartbroken. I was like, now it makes sense as to why he accepted my offer right away, and why he asked, make sure you're happy with the card before we shake on it. So luckily for me, it was a PC buy, so I didn't mind holding it for a while, waiting for the market to get hot, and I was able to move it. But that was definitely a win and loss at the same time for me.
That is a crazy story. If anyone else has any crazy stories out there, we'd love to hear from you. Leave us a comment or send us a message, and we'll bring a couple up maybe next podcast and talk about some other crazy stories. I think that to kind of wrap things up on the show today, we can talk about what's your plan. I know we briefly went over it, but are you going to be planning on walking the floor this weekend, trying to do a bunch of trades? Will you be stationary at the booth, trying to sell a bunch of stuff, or is it going to be trying to buy at the booth? What is your plan for CSC on Saturday?
Yeah, I've talked about this before. For me, my strong suit is being behind the booth. That's where I tend to do my best work. I'm not as strong going out on the floor and making deals happen like some of the other Juice Boys. Shout out to Josh. Shout out to Nick. Shout out to Guidezeg. They're rock stars of that. I mean, best part about setting up with Josh is there's lots of room behind the booth because he's always on the floor cooking. Yeah, he's cooking on the floor. Every time he leaves, he comes back with a new card. It's almost like a magic trick. But I'll probably still be holding down behind the booth. I've been talking to a few of the vendors that are coming to try and um, pre-make some deals and get them to bring out some cards that I've been interested for a while. So I'll step on the floor for a bit of that, but for the most part, going to be behind the booth, looking to do some heavy buying this off season. So I think we're going to set up a real nice buying booth over at our tables together. So hopefully, if anyone's looking to sell some cards, come on by and we'll see what we can do for you. But that's probably my plan is sticking to what I'm good at and holding down the booth and making some deals back there.
Yeah, I know that's kind of same to my plan. I know I'm going to try and get some Pokemon out into some sports and try and trade, but I know it's also prep. We are officially less than 20 days until the 45th National in Chicago. I'm getting really excited to head down. I'm starting to plan and kind of um, plan what I'm going to do there and how I'm going to attack that show because that show is going to be crazy. But we'll dive deeper into the national and kind of everything to do about it and how to experience it closer up to the actual national. The national again, it is July 30th to August the 3rd in Rosemont, Illinois, just outside of Chicago, just outside of the airport. So it's going to be a great show. But yeah, super excited for CSC this weekend. Going to be super busy as always. And once we get information on where our tables are, we will send that out to all of you. But it's going to be a great show.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the national, and I'm excited for our first podcast after the national to pick your brain on your experience. Now, I'm not able to attend this one due to work, but Um, I'm so excited to hear some of the stories you come back with and some of the cards and deals that you're able to make happen out there working the floor. And, maybe you'll use some of these tips we talked about today on how to work the floor to get some good deals done.
I for sure will. And I'll be using all those strategies to get some stuff done and see. And I'll be filming. My main priority really is to go down there and network and faces to names who I've been chatting with online and really get some content out of it. Really explore everything there is to do about the national. Not just go around and look at all the amazing cards and amazing dealers. Is go and experience all those fan booths and go and experience every little opportunity there is, whether it's from Tops or Leaf or PSA or whoever it may be, and go and see all the exhibits. It's going to be the one time where I won't be behind the booth. I will be out enjoying it as kind of a buyer, and it's going to be something really exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend for sure. Um, I hope our listeners enjoyed this episode. This was the first one where we tried to be a bit more educational with some direct tips and tricks that we could provide. And so hopefully you guys like that. If there's any other topics you guys want to hear us talk about in the future, don't be shy. Send us a DM, leave us a comment on one of our reels, posts, message us directly on our personal accounts, Ontario Card Corner or Juice Labs on Instagram, and we'll be sure to include them in future episodes.
And if anyone has anything to sell this weekend, as Adrian said, reach out to us, pre-plan a deal, and it's great to be able to chat with you for a little bit here, Adrian, and super excited to see you this weekend.
Yes, sir. We'll see you this weekend. Peace.
See you guys.